If we are unsuccessful in getting a strike vote and the imposed terms are unreasonable, can there be a second strike vote?
So like if we don't get a strike vote and then, you go back and then you've lived with imposed terms and conditions for a while and then you take another strike vote, what you've effectively shown the employer is that you don't stand behind what you sent us to the table about. And what I will say is I've seen a number of questions come up in the chat, and heard over the we've spoken to 17 GMMs in the past 2 weeks, and this is the second of two province-wide meetings, and the level of turnout and engagement has been fantastic. Like these are all really good questions. And if I were not at the bargaining table, these are exactly the kind of challenges and questions that I would be offering up to whoever was sitting in this seat, frankly. And so they're much appreciated because it is about staying in touch with what are folks thinking on the ground, right? Like how do we tailor a message when we're so immersed in it in a way that actually conveys it meaningfully and reflects what faculty have been telling us. The way in which we reach demands, just to be clear, started over a year ago, where we had a pre-bargaining conference where all 24 delegates from all 24 locals, each of the college locals gathered, and then they set their priorities for bargaining, right? So they sent that to the team that was elected at the same time. That's us. We took those priorities, we turned them into what a team does every time, which is a general membership survey, a bargaining survey for the membership. That survey came back in, went back to the locals for local demand setting meetings. All of the local demands that were passed at the local demand setting meetings then went to a final demand setting meeting. And then they got turned into collective agreement language by the team. The team then presents that in its entirety to the employer, which is what we're tasked to do. And then we try and negotiate a collective agreement from there that is the best possible collective agreement that we believe we can reach in a given moment. And then we recommend that collective agreement for ratification by you, the members. Any action that is taken involves a democratic process starting and ending with the members. We are legitimately in our negotiations procedures not able to actually make a final decision on language without consulting with the local leadership that you've elected in your locals and the bargaining advisory committee, right? So we actually have a fairly extensive process in order to make, so when we talk about the CEC's ability to respond versus ours, democracy is slow, but it makes for a more quality result. So when you're looking at, by the time we come to ask you for a strike vote, it's not because we have some general idea about this is a good idea at this time. It's because we understand strategically what is in front of us and what the options are. And this is what we are recommending to you. It is still up to you at the end of the day, period. This team is elected to fight for as long as we are told to fight. And we will fight to the best of our abilities. And I can promise you, I don't sleep anymore, but I rest easy knowing that I have tried everything that we possibly can at the table to creatively reach a negotiated settlement with an employer that is hell-bent on having their way. So we can, if we don't win this strike mandate vote on Saturday, at the end of day Saturday, for sure, we can go back to the CEC and say, yeah, go ahead, keep imposing terms and conditions and we'll try again. And that is not going to work, right? Because what they're going to know is the members have not backed what's still out there on the table. And we're not asking for the world. And you know why? Because through your leadership, we were told scale it back, and we did. We tried to scale it back because the employer came and said, well, we can't entertain any of these ideas. And we said, okay, you say that every round of bargaining. So we're going to try and incorporate some of your ideas, but we're going to make sure that it's got a mechanism in there so that we don't get fooled again, right? We can't have a fifth workload task force that produces nothing, right? There's just no way to actually, in reasonable terms, talk about how ridiculous this round of negotiations. This is my third round of negotiations. Each one has been different. And this one, it makes 2017 look like nothing. So can they impose terms and conditions? Yes. Should they? No. Because what that does is set us up for an inability to negotiate a collective agreement. They have challenged the very core of bargaining. Bargaining is the one place in which faculty and the administration are to be treated as equals. The one place. and they are unwilling to recognize it even in this heavily legislated environment. We have a conservative government that is up for re-election that is not interested in work stoppage. We have a team that is committed to trying every creative solution to avoid getting to that part. And we're in contact with our allies everywhere. Students are showing amazing support. Amazing support. Canadian Federation students, College Student Alliance, individual student associations, student media has been producing some of the best work on what's on the table for faculty. Our allies in post-secondary have written letter of support after letter of support in favor of what we're doing and what we're trying to fight for. Because our system sets the bar in Ontario to a large degree for what's going to come next. And so we're asking for your support, not from a place of, rage or frustration, but because we know it's what's needed in order to get us over this next hurdle. It's that simple. And I promise you, I am somebody who, I'd like to think I have a fair amount of integrity. And I promise you that we will not take you out on strike unless there's no other option. And they have several phases that we can go through before we get anywhere near that.